Artside Farm was the finish line for part 1, but now we're heading south into the heart of the Breamish Valley. At Bleakhope, Dr. Haslam's first grid reference came true. We captured the glow and spotted thorium-rich drainage hinting at a broader heavy metal assemblage. Trusting his data, we embarked on a 5-mile trek along the serpentine River Breamish and the historic Salters Road, leaving the tourist trail behind for a remote, forbidden area hunt. Welcome to the next leg of the 3 U's challenge, Part 2, Bleakhope. From the familiar Hartside Farm parking spot, our plan is to follow the River Breamish past Low Bleakhope, where the river suddenly straightens and tracks the Breamish Fault. That crack in the earth is why we're trekking here. The fault has channeled metal-rich hydrothermal fluids that deposited lead, copper, barium, iron and even gold. Today it isn't the shiny stuff we are after, it's something more glowy. Dr. Haslam's 1978 follow-up paper identifies a second mineralisation zone just west of the fault, so we'll detour there, rejoin Salters Road and head north to our final stop just north of High Bleakhope. It's a long walk, but Bleakhope promised a glow. If Bleakhope can deliver, we'll know it. So welcome back to the second part of the 3 U's challenge, and look, I'm back here again. just to put the sign there. So I am back at the place where we parked for Bleakhope, but instead of going in that direction, I'm going to go in that direction. So today's target is down the Breamish Valley to a place called High Bleakhope. Now, this is a toughie, this one, because this is a good 4.5-5 mile walk. You can't drive there, you can't get anywhere near there. This is as close as you can get. And as you can see behind me, there are various signs that tell you to go away. And quite right too. So I have a long walk to do, but a long walk just to check out a grid reference, which is obviously quite a commitment. But there's a lot of interesting stuff here once I get towards the sort of the Bleakhope side of the Breamish Valley. And there's lots of interesting geology, and there may also be stuff that's interesting for us as well in terms of our hunt. But a long walk, the weather's okay, it's a little damp, but it's going to get better later. So let's see what we can do. Most of the Cheviots is open access land, free to roam for anyone with a wanderer's heart. In contrast, a large part of the Breamish Valley sits under private ownership. The light green swaths on the map highlight the areas that are off limits today. Stay on the marked path and you'll be safe. The good news, every glowy spot we're after lies in the blue band, so we can enjoy the glow without upsetting any farmers. 1 mile in and we're presented with this beautiful stream next to a farm. So I'm about a third of the way there. Just climbed my first peak behind me, which is called Megrim's Knowe. And this is the first time we start to see Breamish Valley. So behind me over there, that is Rito Hill, and all the way behind me is Little Standrop. Now, Little Standrop, I wanted to see the big one. That's huge. Let's just go. That is massive. Oh my. Okay. I'm pleased it's not up there where I'm going. Also behind me, not you can really tell, but that's Bleakhope. So what the walk does is sort of go south of the Breamish Valley, then come back round. So that little hill there is the first time we sort of get parallel to the Breamish Valley. So far so good. You see the other side of the Cheviots doing this walk, because Heart Oak's all about hedge oak and the Cheviot, This is a little bit more sort of spread out. You can see a lot more sort of little peaks and stuff like that. But, you know, it's not a bad day so far. So let's see how it goes. Oh, good. Another hill. So this is called Snout End. I love the place names around here. They're just brilliant. I mean, if I could have X-ray vision over there, just to the side of Retail, is where they got about is. So as the crow flies, we're dead close, but access-wise, just bloody miles. Oh good, down a hill. We like downhill. The Breamish River finally peaks into view about 2 miles in, snaking around and giving us a moment to soak up the stunning scenery, whilst I drop a quick geology note. So I'm going to try and just quickly explain a couple of things. So I'm in another wonderfully named place called Snuffy Scar, which is, I'm assuming that's Snuffy Scar. Hi Snuffy, say hi. And behind me is the River Breamish. So it's the first proper time we get to see it. As you can see, it's quite wide, quite slow running. It's beautiful. But you'll notice that we've got the hills here. So here is where the Cheviot Pluton behind me ends. So the whole idea with this is that all the stuff towards Snuffy is andesite. It's the lava that formed first when the continents collided with the Caledonian orogeny, and then the Pluton popped out sort of 20 million years afterwards. And the idea is that the Pluton came out, and it did two things. Obviously, it's an intrusion, so it came out the rocks, but also is that the sort of half a mile around it, it baked the rocks. So it cooked and baked the rocks. So you've got sort of three sort of things. So you've got the stuff behind me, which is obviously the Pluton, the big hill, and then you've got the altered, cooked, baked andesite mixed in with some other things. And then over at Snuffy, this is the old rock that you know, and it's still high because it was altered with the orogeny, just like everything else. And so what you end up with is you end up with all sorts of different types of rocks behind me. So it's not just one type of rock. And if I just look in the little rock slidey bit here, you can see what I mean. So we've got all sorts of different colours of rocks. We've got some white, very, very white rock here, which is the granite. And then we've got more pinky stuff, which you'll remember from Course and Burn. And then you've got sort of starting dark grey stuff. So I'd imagine that's probably some, which is the andesite here is a good example. But also you get something that you get grandorierite, which is the sort of slightly more, it's sort of halfway, and looks wise, it's halfway between granite and andesite. And andesite and the marginalised grandorierite look very, very similar, so I may struggle to point this out. But there's a great example. So you've got these two rocks side by side. Now I'm always a bit squeamish of getting to sort of using bits of rock by a roadside as an example of geology, because obviously this has been dumped because you've got all this here. So, but it just goes to show that there's all sorts of things. And the sort of textbook explanation of around here is you've got the granite behind me, you've got the andesite over there, and then in the middle you've got sort of altered stuff, and it's far more complicated than that. And I'm hoping we find some sort of examples. But I just thought this is a good Snuffy and the Friends. It's a good place to point out the sort of geology, if you like. Now, why is that important for us? Well, because where there's heat, where there's alteration, there's cracks form. Where there's cracks, hydrothermal fluids come up. Where hydrothermal fluids come up, you get mineralization. So there you go. Now we're looking at a wall that's a real rock-type buffet. Pink and white granites and grey andesite. It's all here in one sheepfold. At about 3 miles in, we're on the straightaway leading up to Low Bleakhope Farm. Take a look, though you can't touch it, and spot the dike slicing through the Breamish River. Okay. So I'm just north of Low Bleakhope having a rest, and there's a couple of things that are really noticeable here. First thing is how pink the rocks are. So bear in mind that the textbook is that there's two types of grey rock meant to be here. I mean, the banks over there, it's predominantly pink with a little bit of grey. The thing is that's definitely a dike. It's not on any charts I've seen, but that is so dike in truth. So I am approaching Low Bleakhope, one of the most remotest farms in England. And do you know what? I can believe it. I walked nearly 4 miles to get here. So yeah, I mean, look at that up there as well. Oh, such magnificence. I would not be going up there though, unless there was the biggest pot of interesting rocks known to man. So I've just gone through Low Bleakhope, farm buildings behind me. Next, you just feel like you're in a different place here. And this is still following the River Breamish, and you're sort of shielded a bit by the Low and High Cantles, cracking name for everything has a pair in the here. You know, you've got the great and the little, and the high and the low, and the, you know, it's brilliant. But we're now following the Breamish Fault. So if you look at the topographical map, which I would put here somewhere, of the Cheviots, you'll see 3 big sort of divots, if you like. So one is Heart's Oak Valley, which we've been to before. Then you've got College Valley, which I don't believe is actually a geological fault, it's just a valley. And then you've got the Breamish Fault. Now, although it doesn't look it, there is a straight, this is basically a straight path now. So the fault runs for about, certainly for our journey, so 3 or 4 miles in a straight line, and the river follows it. And like Heart Hope, the river follows the fault because it's the path of least resistance. So all over the fault you get like crush zones, shatter zones, you know, look at the rock over there. So, you know, obviously like millions of years ago, this side that I'm on now walking collapsed, basically just went down and it produced the fault. And then Mother Nature has done the rest. I have lots of friends called sheep. I have not seen a single human yet today either, my kind of walk. So what's interesting to us is on this fault. So let's see how it goes. We veered left after Low Bleakhope and climbed a hill to snag a good view of the first mineralisation grid reference. From this perch, the jutting outcrops at Cow Cleugh stand out. Dr. Haslam flagged the spot in his 1978 follow-up paper as a potential source of copper, zinc, barium and lead. And as you know, uranium often hangs out with those metals. So just a little bit up Cow Cleugh, and there's a first piece of mineralisation that we've seen in that stone there. That one. Let's see if I can get it in there. Yeah. So we're going to have a little look at that. Then you've got some veining or something. Right. Yes, definitely some sort of mineralisation there. So you've got the quartz and you've got the banding. Possibly something hematite-ish. Well, it's just a bit of whatever's. It's quite a cool little rock, isn't it? All sorts of things doing there. I don't think it's going to do anything here though. Just double check. I mean 0.13 is not bad, but it's just general around here 0.13. So yeah, there's nothing there. But that's a good sign. See if there's anything else up or downstream. A good start. So just a bit upstream, and there's a couple of other rocks. I mean, this green stuff here is great. It's really, really vivid. That we I don't think it's radioactive though. Just check with the guide. Vein 10.0.13. There's another bit of veining over here as well. 0.14. It's certainly a lot of mineralisation going on here. But also these are in the stream. They must have come from a source somewhere. But that green stuff, there's a lead mineral apparently here somewhere. I wonder if that's something to do with that, like greeny staining. Who knows? Very interesting though. And then you get a whole diversity of stuff here. So yeah, we'll have to keep our eye 0.15. There's obviously something here. Out in 6. So this is getting interesting. I wonder if it's over there, maybe. 0.16. I think this is just background though. 0.17. I think this is background because as I've been going further upstream, it's been getting higher and higher. So I'm just wondering if this is just general background radiation rather than anything specific. But it's a very good sign. Very good sign indeed. This is our first real bit of rock face reveal. And I saw this from up the top. And this is very sort of fractured and faulted. So it's worth giving this a go with the Geiger. The Geiger was an 0.19 when I was moving around. And these minerals have got to come from somewhere. So yeah, let's just follow the clues as we do. So the most I'm getting is 0.19, which is what I was getting down there, downstream. So I've had a good wave around and I switched to CPS. And whilst it's excited, I don't think there's any real sort of evidence of anything sort of like minerals type thing. But it's a great sign. Now, whilst I saw this from the top, wow, look at this place. Look at these huge slabs of granite. Wow, that's all I can say. I also can get down there as well, it's just really cool. But that's just spectacular. And I found a tiny little waterfall over there. You like waterfalls? So as pretty as all this is, I've got two problems. First of all, it's way down there to get close to that waterfall. And the more important thing is I am now starting to get out of the range of the grid reference for the possible mineralization here. So I don't think I can get any further than that without, you know, scrambling, and I'm not going to move for scrambling today. So I'm going to see if I can get round via the river. By Cow Cleugh, but if I can't, I'm going to go back down because my GM has also sort of gone down a couple of clicks as well. So I'm wondering if, whilst this is absolutely stunning and beautiful, and it's clearly some sort of, you know, now I'm sitting on it, it's obviously some sort of intrusion or weathering or something like that, because this is just sticking out like a sore thumb. I'm not picking up anything that's going to make my Geiger scream. And whilst I could go over there, or I could investigate the stuff over there, there's no real obvious mineralization, even though the rocks look absolutely amazing and brilliant. So, yeah, let's see what happens. Honestly, walking through here, it's just like one of those Sunday afternoon movies you used to watch with monsters and things. And it would just be like all these things made of stone. I'm very interested in all this though. Obviously we've got the, you know, got the different effects, maybe because of the water. But GM's just telling the same story it's been telling all day, really. Yes, it's radioactive, but nothing sort of turning it on, nothing, you know, as it goes up. I may have found my first bit of something. Okie dokie. 0.25. Well, that's a surprise. Right, let's go and have a little look and see what we can find. So I've gone over this bit of rock face, and it seems to be 0.24, 0.25 seems to be the sort of highest I can get it. And if I move that away just for a second, you can sort of see the brownish staining there, and that suggests to me it's some sort of hematite. Now, iron and uranium are good friends, so you often find one with the other. So that's definitely a positive sign. So yeah, 0.24. I'd be very disappointed if this was the mineralization though, because it's not like it's green or something weird, is it? But you know, it's all good stuff. It's all part of the hunt. There we go, 0.25. So we'll count this as a bonus. But I'm going to have a quick look at the waterfall and then move on, because the day is young. Good things always happen with waterfalls in this hobby, don't they? And this is another one, because if I hadn't found the mineralization zone, I definitely would have found a mineralization zone, which is over here. So I just carefully step down, because this is not an easy place to maneuver. There's these little patches, and I'm not a mineral person, so it's not really much point me trying to guess. But you see these, I'll move our friends the ferns out the way. There you go, that's better. So these patches here, they look very minerally. I think the things that were found here were hematite, chalcopyrite, which looks like gold, so we'd spot that no problem. There was also a lead mineral, I can't remember the name, over began with P, and a barite. Now, but this is possibly barite, because it's just a glassy sort of smooth, sort of whitey colour. But I'm having this. I think this is our mineralization, and this goes across to there, and over there is where we got those high readings. And the GM's still doing stuff. It's still, you know, in the 20s. Whilst it's not actually doing stuff with the mineralization much, you know, 0.22, which is always good. I do think that this is what they meant, and if it wasn't, fine. No problem. We're chasing leads that are 50, 60 years old. What we're supposed to do. So that is really, really cool. So again, waterfalls are our friend. So I'm going for this. Again, what often happens with these as well is that they take samples and they look under microscopes, and they can then go into fine detail with the stuff. But that's definitely not just a bit of granite. There's all sorts of going on here. So yeah, I'm pretty certain that is what they were called. I mean, look at this here. Look at the veining here. Let's try and get that right. So you see those veins there? Yeah, that's Mother Nature, isn't it? Time to go back down and go and find some more, hopefully uranium, as I find just another lovely piece there. Look, beautiful, that, absolutely beautiful. It's doing nothing there. Yeah, gorgeous piece that. Right, what a great spot this is. I love the way that Mother Nature puts on a show. But everything here, fun for all the family. Cow Cleugh, a hidden corner of the Cheviot complex where the River Breamish cuts through a buried crush zone that is nothing short of a mineralising banquet. It stretches for about 6 kilometres along the upper reaches of the river and sits precisely at the southern contact between the granite and the older volcanic rock. Copper, lead and zinc flood the stream sediments that drain the volcanics. The same zone hosts arsenic, antimony, bismuth and even molybdenum, often found with lead. Native gold has even been rumoured at High Bleakhope, right beside the fault. The crush zone is especially rich with barite, malachite and the lead mineral pyromorphite cropping. These elements and minerals are not random, they are guided through the fault's vertical and sideways movements, through cross fractures by hydrothermal fluids that release metals from the magma. At Cow Cleugh we witness most of this multi-element drama, the very place where the fault's plumbing worked its mineralising magic. And yet, even as we film the waterfalls cascading over those cliffs, they remain absent from every map we know. Past, present, future, the geography of Cow Cleugh hides itself, a silent witness to the fault's geological story. So I'm now at the bottom of Cow Cleugh. That's back onto the road, and there was nothing else there. It basically peters out to nothing, to be honest, just this tiny little stream. So I'm gonna go with that. If somebody wants to tell me I was wrong, I'm more than happy, because I'd love to find out more about that. Because that was, as I say, one reference in one paper. So that was quite cool. Just from a uranium hunter point of view, barite is a good one, because barite forms under similar conditions to uranium minerals, high temperature, high pressure, quartzy type stuff. So that's quite good as well. So I'm now going to walk to High Bleakhope, have a bit of lunch, and then hopefully the main event. So that is the wonderfully named Cow Cleugh, and there's meant to be waterfalls there too. I'm going to save that one for somebody else though. If somebody else wants to go and find them, please tag me in. I also have annoying some very hungry sheep as well. Oh dear. So I just walked through High Bleakhope, which is just a couple of buildings. And this road is actually called Salter's Road. It's an old Roman road. So you get loads of people hiking here, doing circulars in the Cheviot. Although apart from 2 shepherds, I've seen nobody today. So that's all good stuff. So on the map, and when you do it for real, to go from Low Bleakhope to High Bleakhope and High Bleakhope then to the final target, doesn't look a lot. It is quite a hike because it's all in a straight line, and I explain why, because of the fault. It doesn't look too much. So for example, you go through 2 wooded areas just behind me. So yeah, there's a lot going on what looks just like a straight line, but when I get to where I need to go, I'm hoping it'll be worth it, because I can actually see it now. Very exciting. So as your sat-nav would say, you have arrived at your destination. So time for a charging stop and a food stop, and then I will think of a plan to see what we can do about looking at those rocks. The river's down there, by the way, so just in case you're wondering. Let's see. In the flyover of the main reference point north of High Bleakhope, you can clearly see the characteristic pockmarks on the riverbanks and hillside. These are not man-made, but porphyritic dikes, intrusive magma bodies that oozed long after the base rock had set. Where dikes occur, we often found the associated glow of mineralization. Right then, the main event, the River Breamish. Somewhere down here, there's meant to be uranium. So, let's see what we can do. I've got about 100 meters possibly a little bit more of riverbank to explore. It's not going to be anywhere else, and I think it's about to start to rain. So the things we put ourselves through, what I have done though is unleash my secret weapon of Crocs. Because I was travelling light, I didn't want to bring my wellies, so I've brought my Crocs, and then I've got a towel and a change of socks. Always good advice. The other thing is that the Geiger's up to 19 already, 0.19, just down here on the riverbank. And this is all very familiar, this sort of faulting stuff, bit of a vein over there. There's a big vein over there actually. Promising. So I've only gone about 10 metres and already things are going up. So although it says 0.2, it's actually got up to about 0.2223 up there. So I'm nowhere near where I should be. I'm also very interested in this stuff here. This sort of slightly altered rock. I'd say it's quartzy, but it's probably more breccia than quartzy. That's quite interesting as well. So yeah, signs are there, but I'm a good 50 metres from the grid reference, probably more. But as we saw at the other place, it's not always accurate. So I'm only about 20 metres further up, and we've got our first red light. I don't know if you can see that. Got our first red light of the session. It's 0.3 here. It's obviously great news. And I could tell it was getting a bit more sort of greeny, and you know, bits like this. Right, it's just the rock is starting to be discoloured a little bit. So I thought this looked okay. So let's investigate. So I've cleared away some of the grass and can't really see much, just to say this sort of greeny mineral. It seems to be where it's at, so I don't know if that's some sort of copper mineral that's then got a little bit of uranium in it or something, but it's certainly, you know, I've checked all over and it seems to be around here. It likes it, so yeah, clocked out about 0.32 worth getting wet feet for. Again, another 20 metres or so, and another hot spot, 27, 28. It's glossy just because this is where there's loads of drain water. Not because of anything else. Well, that's quite interesting. I'm quite disappointed that this isn't, because this looks very minerally. This white stuff here is very, very strange. But I've tried it with the Geiger counter and it's not doing much above. So that's where I've just been. I found my first true bit of mineralisation, and it's 0.3 on the Geiger counter. So you see the quartzy stuff there, and that's set in, that's not moving. So I think that's our first bit of genuine mineralisation in this bit of the Breamish. Sorry, it's very difficult to get a good angle on it. So yeah, also this sort of stuff, hematite, all a good sign. So another little mini waterfall and another red light. Whoop. So I love this spooky little mini cave thing going on, and you can tell with the rocks, with the redness, there's rust. There's obviously a lot of hematite here. Now whether this is just picking up hematite and it happens after a bit of uranium, or whether this is it, I don't know. But we're getting very close now to the grid reference. What a great little spot though. How amazing. But I've had a little wander around, and 26, 27 is as high as I'm getting here. All good. So a little bit further into the spooky cave, and it's going above 0.3 here, and it could just be the build up of radon, or it could genuinely be some mineralization. As I say, we're so close to the thing, I can't really see much. I did find this really cool little rock with this green stuff on it, but I'm pretty sure that's biological. I'd be absolutely amazed if that was a mineral. just by the way that it's faded and stuff. But it was a cool little rock, and it was in the same sort of place as this, but now we're going up to 35. So yeah, also I'm suspicious about this cave. Why is this cave like this? You know, has somebody been here before me? There's nowhere else around here that has a sort of spooky cave like this. Let's turn this back up. There. So maybe there was something here, and somebody's had a good, took a sample, as they say. Who knows? It's worthy for a bit more study. So not only are we big fans of waterfalls, we're also big fans of spooky caves. So, well done us. But yes, 35 we got up to, 0.35, which is way the highest of today. So that's all good news. Yeah, let's see what else we can find. We're definitely in a uranium rich part now, because I'm just in the random rock bit, just around the corner from the cave, and 25s, 26s. I also wish I could throw my Geiger counter over there, because that looks perfect, but far too deep down there for me to get across. Might see if I can double back on myself later, because that looks prime. But just here, 0 points, you know, it's trying to get to 0.3 here. I'm just put the light on. It's trying to get to 0.3 here, and I just left it there just to rest. You know, I wasn't even looking. This actually is the other side of that spooky cave as well. So there's definitely something here. There's a little divot or something up there as well. 0.27, 0.28. So we are definitely in the sort of bit, and we are now just about in the grid reference. I mean, as I've learned, grid references are only as good as the people put them down, but yeah, this is definitely something. The only thing I'm a bit disappointed about is that there's no actual uranium mineralization that I can recognize. There's plenty of iron, bit of quartz, but I'm not actually seeing any of the sort of uraninite or the secondaries, and I would imagine secondaries will be quite a big thing here because of all it's very wet around here. There's lots of other minerals. Get your supergenes, but no, it just seems to be the rock itself just seems to genuinely be there. The reason, by the way, that we think there's mineralization here, or that we know mineralization, is because there's two dikes. There's two dikes, and this is one of them. I'm literally standing in the dike. And as we know, where there's dikes, there's often mineralization and, you know, Cheviots, uranium. I've told the story a few times. So that's why this bit here especially is particularly sort of interesting. So when you get two dikes colliding, that's even better. That's just where we've been, and that entire bit there is 0.22, 0.24. So it's definitely a part of something. So yeah, I would also like to have gone to have a look at that, but it's just water's too deep, and as I said, it didn't bring me wellies. I sort of cheated. So yeah, so I'm actually not yet at the coordinate, believe it or not, but it's certainly all making sense. And the other good thing is that the topography has calmed down a lot now. So that was all very steep sided, whereas this is lovely, nice and calm, just what you need. I'm recording this on a Sunday as well. I feel very Sunday-ish. So just off camera, I checked the rocks over there, and they are 24, 25, 26, just like the others as well. And my Geiger is just on a random bit of ground here, and it's at 0.22. So it seems like the whole 0.3, 23, call me a liar. It seems like the whole strata, if you like, the whole riverbed, from basically when I entered, is elevated. So whilst that's really cool and it means I found the uranium, I would much prefer to have found sort of like a hot spot, like a genuine sort of, you know, 0.5, 0.7, something like that, rather than just little bits and pieces. But The fact that they actually said there was mineralization means there must be something somewhere. The other thing is I've come in the middle of summer, which I think is a bit of a schoolboy error, because everything's so overgrown. So you can't, you're lucky what you can see, which might be the other thing as well. If you come in the dead of winter, there might be more here as well. But I'm going to carry on. Just around the corner of the river over there is the location of the grid reference. So why not? In for a penny, and the sun's come out. God knows what that is. I can tell you something for nothing. You're sticking the Geiger counter in that. The 100-metre plus stretch of the River Breamish was a fascinating hunt. We dodged deep pools and sharp cliffs, and the minerals kept coming. Our Geiger counter hummed the whole way, especially when we approached a small cave adjacent to one of those dikes. While there's no direct evidence of uranium excavation here, the sense that someone may have been here before us is understandable, given the historic interest in the Cheviot Hills. Who knows, they could have been after the gold? Nevertheless, the 5 miles of hiking through the beauty of the Cheviots made the adventure all worthwhile. So, that's me done for Bleakhope. I went another 20 metres or so, and it's just dying down. And often it's just a case of stating the obvious and applying Occam's razor, and if it was radioactive over there, why would it be radioactive over here? So I'm not discounting the idea that there is a genuine vein of mineralization of uranium. Probably is. There's also nothing ever said about these things where did they just take some rock to a lab and go, oh, there's uranium. So I'm going to wrap this up, because I think that's it really. Also, there's issues with access here, so there's only certain parts of this area that you're allowed to roam, and there's a foresty bit over there which is like one of the borders, if you like. So I am going to call that not just a second U but several second U's. And Cow Cleugh was the surprise one, so that was nearly as radioactive as the stuff here. So that was a real bonus element, that. So I'm going to go with a yes, and then we have one left to do, which is over the complete other side near College Valley, top of the Cheviots, and that's a completely different type of exploration. So I hope you can join me for the third U, which will be coming soon. Thank you very much, and keep chasing the glow. Oh, and Crocs are brilliant. Coming next in the 3 U's challenge. Now, Confessions of a Uranium Hunter, the new spot in the channel.